So Tna Impact took place from Little Rock, Arkansas. The show starts with Dixie Carter walking down a hallway. She stops when Sting appears. Sting wants to know why she hasn't answered his text messages for the past week. He asks her why she is treating AJ Styles the way she is. But Dixie ignores him by paying more attention to her phone. Sting finally gets her to look at him, and he says that she isn't the woman he knows. And Dixie tells him that she will handle it. So then we see Bully Ray and Brooke Tessmacher come to the ring. Bully Ray says that it's rare when he is left speechless, but Dixie Carter shocked him. He says that he was amazed at the way Dixie put AJ Styles down last week. Bully Ray says that ever since Styles won the Bound for Glory series, he has been wondering how he is going to beat him. But he says that he doesn't have to concern himself with that anymore because Dixie has gotten to Styles. And Bully Ray says that Styles should worship her, and even though he doesn't always agree with Dixie, she made Styles who he is. He says that Dixie is responsible for how well Styles performs in the ring. And then Bully Ray is about to start his weekly spiel when the other members of Aces and Eights come to the ring. As Garrett Bischoff, Wes Briscoe, and Mike Knox walk to the ring, Knox tells Bully Ray that they know who he is and who he's supposed to be. Knox says that Bully Ray is supposed to be their leader, but once again he has decided to do his own business. He says that Bully Ray is preoccupied with holding on to the title instead of watching over the remaining members of the club. Knox says that Bully Ray has made Tessmacher a higher priority than them. And once again, just as last week, Bully Ray tells Knox not to insult Tessmacher. The crowd goes into chant mode. Knox says that they are going to handle club business when they face the Main Event Mafia later. And Bully Ray says that he makes the rules in the club, and that's why he is the president. He says what he did to D'Lo Brown, Mr. Anderson, and Devon means that he can do the same to Knox, Briscoe, and Bischoff. And Bully Ray says that if they want to make their own rules, that's fine. However, whoever loses the match for the team will be out of the group. Okay, so Bully Ray finally mentions AJ Styles, but he never spoke to Styles directly. He only talked about Styles. And he did so by doing what I said he would do, become Dixie's helper, but from a psychological point of view. Instead of telling us what he's going to do to Styles at Bound for Glory, Bully Ray is busy putting Dixie over. Bound for Glory is 3 weeks away, and the build for the main event hasn't even started yet. Unless the main event is going to be AJ Styles versus Dixie Carter. As far as the self-imposed stipulation that Bully Ray placed on the members of the group, why couldn't Bully Ray have said this after Aces and Eights had lost the match? Fans would have been surprised by that, and it would have a more satisfying feeling than knowing ahead of time that they were going to lose. So then we had a 6-person tag team match. Gail Kim and the Glorified Jobbers, Robbie E. and Mr. Duh, versus ODB, Eric Young, and dumbass Joseph Park. Lame comedy match, nothing more. The only significant thing to note is that Gail Kim and ODB never engaged in actual wrestling during the match. Their only interaction was when ODB tossed Gail through the ropes onto the ramp. That was it. Other than the fact that she is the only other active female wrestler in TNA, Gail Kim should never have been in this match, particularly having to team up with the Glorified Jobbers. She is better than this, but since there is no one for her to do a program with, this is what she has to be lowered to doing. So then we see Austin Aries backstage, and Aries is asked what his plans are now that the Bound for Glory series is over. And Aries says that he will go to the ring and let everyone know. So then we see Hogan backstage, and he is asked about the AJ Styles Dixie Carter confrontation from last week. Hogan says that he had to read the transcripts. Transcripts? You see, Hogan, there is this wonderful electronic medium called video, and he says that he is going to, quote, fix this crap, unquote. Yeah, by creating more of it. So then we see Austin Aries come to the ring, and Aries says that people have been asking him what he's going to do now since not winning the Bound for Glory series. He makes reference to facing Jeff Hardy at Bound for Glory last year for the World Heavyweight Championship. Aries says that even though he's not in the headline match, he is still the feature attraction, adding that his future looks great. Then somebody's music plays. Wait a minute. Who is that? Is that Kenny King? Kenny King is actually on Impact. Kenny King gets on the mic and says that when you hear his music, that's when you know he's there. He says that he loves the mic because he can say what he wants. King tells Aries that he is bothered by what Aries has been saying, so Aries tells him to come to the ring and say it to him more directly. As King walks to the ring, he tells Aries that he was the one making the headlines last year. He says they win as such. King defeats top competition to win the X Division title. King beats all contenders to remain X Division champion. Chris Sabin steals X Division title from Kenny King. King says that Sabin beating him for the title really didn't faze him because he figured that, of course, he would win it back. He says that what he didn't count on was someone dressing up in Suicide's Mannix costume and costing him the opportunity to win the belt back. King says that Aries' scheme was genius, but what really set him off was Aries talking about the future. He says that Aries was the future 10 years ago and that he is the real future now. And Aries says that King is full of shit and challenges him to a match. But King refuses to accept. Suddenly, King sucker punches Aries and goes on the offensive. King becomes a little too arrogant as he plays to the crowd before receiving a blow from Aries. King leaves the ring. Aries tells him not to punch and flee. King heads back up the ramp, but referee Brian Hebner blocks his way and forces King back down the ramp. Aries comes off the top rope and nails King with a punch, sending King down on the ramp. Aries follows that with blows to the head, thus signifying the start of Kenny King versus Austin Aries. Good match. King gets busted open during the match. The match ends with Aries attempting the brainbuster on King, but King slips out and delivers a blow to Aries, knocking him down to the mat. King punches Aries, but Aries responds with a series of forearms. Aries comes off the ropes and tries to land a discus punch on King, but King ducks and catches him with a spin kick. King goes for the pin, but Aries kicks out. King lifts Aries on his shoulders and carries him to the corner, but Aries gets free and lands on the ring apron. Aries snaps King's head back on the top rope. King is down on the mat as Aries goes to the top rope. King gets up and brings his hand down on the top rope, causing Aries to lose his balance. King nails him with a flying kick to the head, then goes to the middle rope and executes an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. He goes for the pin, but Aries kicks out. With Aries in the corner, King charges from the opposite corner and attempts a flying dropkick, but Aries rolls out of the way and catches him with his own flying dropkick. Aries brings King to the middle of the ring and executes the brainbuster. He gets the 3. The winner of the match, Austin Aries. Now, it was great to see Kenny King finally return to Impact, but maybe this was a match that could have taken place at Bound for Glory. The storyline of Aries dressing as Suicide at the time, now Manic, and costing King the chance to win the X Division title is a solid foundation for a program between the two. The program segment could have served as a start of a great build, which would have led to an initial Bound for Glory match. A program with this potential to be excellent should have been launched at Bound for Glory. Nevertheless, good match. So then we see a video vignette of Lady Tapa on her way to TNA. As I said last week, Tapa coming to TNA would be a small step on a long journey to bringing the women's division back to some form of respectability. They had to do something. Tapa as a bruising heel is what TNA has been missing since Awesome Kong and Ayako Hamada. And Tapa versus ODB is the only fresh match that the division has as far as face versus heel is concerned. It will all depend on how well Tapa has improved overall since her gut check match last February 28th. But at least it's a start. So then we see Austin Aries backstage with Chris Sabin and Velvet Sky. Sabin congratulates Aries on his win and welcomes him back to the X Division, the division that Sabin says he made relevant. Sabin compares their world title wins and says that his was more impressive. Aries sarcastically agrees, stating that Sabin having to use a hammer to win was a great display of his technical skills. Sabin brushes him off and says that he will make history again by becoming a 7-time X Division champion, which will make him more remembered than Aries. He and Velvet Sky leave. Aries carried the segment and Sabin came off whiny. I guess that's what TNA wants him to be, but I don't think Sabin is coming off well in this type of heel presentation. So then we see the Main Event Mafia backstage preparing for their match against Aces and Eights. Magnus shows frustration and Samoa Joe wants to know what's wrong. Magnus says that he's still upset about the Extraordinary Gentlemen's Organization interfering in his Bound for Glory series final match, attacking him last week, and getting hit with a baseball bat by Robert Roode. Joe tells him that they will deal with the gentlemen at a later time, but they have to focus on their match tonight. Magnus says that he's going to deal with the gentlemen tonight. Sting tells Magnus that the Main Event Mafia was formed to get rid of Aces and Eights and that they are so close to accomplishing that. He tells Magnus to not allow the gentlemen to play mind games with him. So there seems to be a hint that Magnus is ready to break away from the Main Event Mafia and do things on his own. In order to do that, he may have to stand up to Sting and tell him that he can't contain himself within a group element and that he has to do work himself. So then we see Hogan come out. Hogan says that he has been in TNA for almost 4 years, and in that time he has formed an opinion about Dixie Carter. He says that inside business should not be discussed publicly, and he asks the crowd if they want AJ Styles to stay with TNA, and the crowd reacts favorably. Hogan says that he is going to fix the problem with Styles and Dixie for the sake of the company, himself, and the fans. So, of course, Hogan was going to insert himself into this. Of course he was. So then we see a video vignette on Kurt Angle making his return at Bound for Glory. Angle will be at Bound for Glory to be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. But will Angle also be there to wrestle as well? So then we see a brief graphic about someone named Ethan coming to TNA. The speculation is that this individual is someone from OVW. Now, the relationship between TNA and OVW has not been good. One reason being that wrestlers from the developmental roster have not been called up to the main roster as frequently as what OVW would have preferred. So if this Ethan is from OVW, this may be TNA trying to make the relationship better. So then we see AJ Styles backstage, and he is asked if he heard what Hogan said earlier. Styles says that he did, and he will hear what Hogan has to say. So then we had the X Division Championship match. Manic defending against Chris Sabin, accompanied by Velvet Sky. Decent match. The match ends with Manic whipping Sabin off the ropes, but Sabin reverses the whip. Manic holds onto the ropes. Sabin charges, but Manic trips him, causing Sabin to fall on the middle rope. Manic jumps onto the middle rope in the corner, leaps over the top rope, and catches Sabin with a drop kick to the head. As Manic re-enters the ring, Sabin rolls him up for a pin attempt, but Manic kicks out. Sabin attempts to execute a possible powerbomb, but Manic grabs Sabin's legs and takes him down. Then he catapults Sabin into the top turnbuckle. Manic takes Sabin down to the mat again and applies a sharpshooter. Sabin drags himself to the ropes and he reaches out to Velvet. He grabs Velvet's hand, and as Manic pulls him away from the ropes, Sabin pulls Velvet into the ring. Sabin grabs Velvet and pulls her into the corner, shielding himself. Sabin pushes Velvet to the side and rolls up Manic for a pin attempt, but Manic reverses the roll up and gets the 3. The winner of the match, Manic. After the match, Sabin attacks Manic, but Austin Aries comes to the ring and chases Sabin off. Sabin just came off as cowardly, pushing Velvet into Manic, dragging her into the ring and hiding behind her. Heel Sabin is not working the way that it should. As far as Aries coming out, this opportunity would have been perfect for Kenny King to come out and attack Aries. Then there would have been a reason for us to see them face off again, rather than having this one and done feel to their match from earlier. So then we see the other members of Aces and Eights backstage. Wes Briscoe is yelling about the group falling apart, but Garrett Bischoff tries to calm him down, saying that unlike Bully Ray, they're focused on what they need to do. And Mike Knox says that things shouldn't be the way they are, but he is ready to fight for the club. So then we see the Extraordinary Gentlemen's organization backstage. Robert Roode is complaining about Kurt Angle being inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame. He says that the gentlemen have done more for the company than Angle has done his entire career. And Christopher Daniels says that all Magnus does is complain about losing. Kazarian wonders what would happen if Magnus lost again. So, 2 hints here. A possible Roode Angle match at Bound for Glory, and the gentlemen involving themselves in tonight's main event. So then we have the main event. The main event, Mafia versus Aces and Eights. Decent match. During the match, Magnus was attacked by 2/3 of the Extraordinary Gentlemen's organization, Daniels and Kazarian, and it appeared that Magnus suffered a legit injury to his knee. The match ends with Wes Briscoe whipping Sting off the ropes and attempting a drop kick, but Sting holds on to the ropes. He follows that up with a clothesline takedown. Sting makes the tag to Samoa Joe. Joe clotheslines Briscoe and Garrett Bischoff, then knocks Mike Knox off the ring apron. He hits Briscoe with an inverted atomic drop. Then Joe comes off the ropes with a kick to the chest, knocking Briscoe to the mat. He follows that with a running senton. Joe goes for the pin, but Briscoe kicks out. He whips Briscoe off the ropes, but Briscoe kicks him in the chest. Briscoe comes off the ropes, but Joe catches him with a snap power slam. Joe goes for the pin, but Bischoff makes the save. Sting and Mike Knox also come into the ring. Sting whips Knox into the corner, crushing Bischoff, who is also in the corner. Sting delivers the Stinger Splash on both of them. He turns and nails Briscoe with a Stinger Splash in the opposite corner. Briscoe stumbles forward and Joe takes him down with a rear naked choke. Briscoe taps out. The winners of the match, the Main Event Mafia. Now Mike Tenay and Taz didn't even acknowledge that Magnus had been injured. Furthermore, they didn't even mention that he was no longer a part of the match. Now, too many people have already said how unprofessional Tna and Taz are, and they're right. So I won't need to. Now, Briscoe is lying face down on the mat as Bully Ray and Brooke Tessmacher come to the ring. Bully Ray tells Briscoe that since he lost, he has to give up his vest. He's out of the group. Briscoe refuses. Bully Ray once again demands the vest, but Briscoe tells him no. Bully Ray tells Knox and Bischoff to take the vest off Briscoe. Both of them are hesitant to do it. Bully Ray repeats his order, but they won't do it. He clotheslines Briscoe. Bully Ray wants to know where the balls of Bischoff and Knox are. Then he gives Briscoe a pile driver. Bully Ray tells Knox and Bischoff to give him Briscoe's vest or he will pile drive him again. Then Knox picks up Briscoe and they remove the vest from him. Bischoff has the vest in his hand and Bully Ray demands it. However, he switches and wants Knox to give it to him. Bully Ray tells Bischoff to hand the vest to Knox, and he does. Then Bully Ray orders Knox to give him the vest, and after a long pause, Knox finally gives it to him. So, Briscoe is gone, no one cares. Knox and Bischoff are still afraid of Bully Ray, even though they could both take him out. And Bully Ray continues to look more ruthless, even though his main event match is being buried. So then we see Hogan in the ring, and he calls out AJ Styles. Styles comes to the ring. Hogan tells Styles that he has a contract in his hand and he wants Styles to sign it so that he can face Bully Ray for the world title at Bound for Glory. Hogan hands the contract to Styles and he tells him how much the fans love him. Styles signs the contract, but then Dixie Carter comes to the ring. Dixie tells Hogan that she brought Hogan to TNA in order to give it more exposure and that Hogan schooled her on understanding the wrestling business. However, she tells him that he's just another worker. Dixie says that Hogan can make himself better than that. She turns to Styles and says that she will never beg on her knees to him. Dixie says that Hogan may see value in Styles, but she doesn't. She expresses that by tearing up the contract. Styles tells Dixie that she has made a big mistake and Dixie tells him to leave the ring. Styles leaves without addressing Bully Ray directly. Dixie says that the fans hate her because they haven't lived her life and that her critics need her. She tells Hogan that she will excuse his not getting her approval or disapproval on offering Styles a contract. Dixie tells him that he needs to decide whether to be on her side or suffer the same fate as Styles, and he has a week to decide. Show ends. Dixie was worse this week than she was last week, and last week she was terrible. Rambling, stumbling, shrieking. It gets worse than that. The main event is supposed to be Bully Ray versus AJ Styles, right? Yet the focus has shifted again, this time from Styles versus Dixie to Dixie versus Hogan. If the build for Styles versus Bully Ray doesn't start by next week, it will be too late to generate any interest in Bound for Glory for some diehards and most casuals, if not all. Hogan found a way to work himself into the main event scenario. Just not the one you're thinking of. Not yet. I'm Tazmark 2002, and that was my Tna Impact Analysis for September 26, 2013. If you're listening to me on YouTube, please leave your comments below. Click the like or dislike button. And if you subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you're listening to me on the Wrestling News Talk Facebook page, please leave your comments below and click the like button if you like what I've been saying. If you have any questions for me about TNA or wrestling in general that you'd like for me to answer, you can contact me on Twitter, Tazmark2002, that's Tazmark 2002. And if your comments exceed the 140, get at me with an email, Tazmark2002@gmail.com. Now there is a programming change this week for the TNA Impact review that I do with Chuck P. Usually we do our review on Thursday night at 11:30. But we will not be on at that time this week because we both have prior commitments. We will be doing our review this week at 11:30 a.m. Friday morning. So if you want to watch us live, be sure to tune in at that time. If not, then you can always watch the archive of the review on Chuck P's channel. It was a solid show. Solid show. As of this recording, Hogan is negotiating a new deal with TNA. The fact that they are even having meetings tells you that they want him to stay. TNA could have allowed his contract to expire if they didn't want him. Hogan's creative control clause in his contract gives him all power over his character role. And currently, he has used that control to allow his possible exit from the company, or whatever role he will have at Bound for Glory, to overshadow the main event. In his mind, Hogan still wins, whether he leaves or not. Let him be a winner without a company. I'm Tazmark 2002. Gone.